Hello, my name is Jessica Mead, and I am a captain in the United States Air Force. Your teacher, Miss Brune, asked me to answer some questions that you all had for me, and so today I'm going to make a little video and tell you about myself, also answer your questions, and then give you a little tour of where I work. I work in a really cool place, and so I'm going to show you some cool things in a little bit. So first off, I'll tell you about myself. I grew up in Fenton, Iowa, on a farm right outside of Fenton, and we raised pigs and then had corn and beans, and so I got to do all that fun farm stuff when I was a kid. And I went to Central School, and funny fact, my best friend was Mrs. Brune's sister, Alicia, and so I spent a lot of time at Mrs. Brune's house, which makes it really special for me that I get to talk to you today. I went to elementary school and junior high and high school all at Central, and then I went to college at the University of Iowa. I hope there's some Hawkeye fans in the house. And then I joined the Air Force. My mom and dad still live in the area. I have a brother that moved away to Chicago, and then now I live in Dayton, Ohio. So that's a little bit about me. So now I'm going to answer some of your questions and tell you about my life, and then I'll give you a little tour. All right, so the first question is from Lexi, and her question is, what types of things do you do in your branch of the military? So I went to college to be a nurse. I knew I wanted to take care of people. I really like taking care of people. And so I went to college and became a nurse, and then I joined the Air Force, and I got to be a nurse in military hospitals. And so I spent a couple years working in a hospital, just like I'm sure you've all been to, where I took care of all different types of patients. So patients in the military, their families, people who were in the military and then retired. And so that's what I did for the first couple years. And then I went to some special training and became a flight nurse. A flight nurse gets to take care of patients up in the airplanes. And so if somebody is sick and they need to fly somewhere to get more specialized care, or they need to get out of danger and go to a hospital, then I take care of them on an airplane. And so I get to do some special training and learn what your body does when it's up in an airplane, and I get to take care of patients up in an airplane. So I did that for about 6 years. And now I'm actually a teacher like Miss Brune, and I teach other people how to take care of patients up in an airplane. And so I have had a wonderful time in the Air Force doing that. That's sort of my career. I've been a nurse, then a flight nurse, and then a flight nurse instructor, and I've been in the Air Force for 10 years. And so that's what I do in my branch of the military. All right, thanks, Lexi. So Caden, what were the meals like? So I go home every day, and me and my husband make really good food. So we eat normal food just like you guys. There are special times when we eat military meals called MREs, or meals ready to eat. But that's only when we're in places that don't have food available for us to eat. So that it's pretty much like a fun packaged meal that has this little heater in there that you get to warm up your food, and it's sort of like camping food. You add water to it, and then you warm it up with this little heater, and they still have fun meals like pizza and pastas and like tuna and different things. And so for the most part, our food is the same, just like yours, but otherwise when we go to other locations like Afghanistan and Iraq and places across the world, sometimes we have to eat those MREs, or meals ready to eat. All right, Maisie, how old were you when you joined the military, and did you go to college? All right, great question, Maisie. So I went to college when I was 19, and I was there for 4.5 years, and then I started the Air Force right after that, and so I was about 23. That was a good time for me. I'm glad I went to college first. I really enjoyed my time at college and definitely recommend it. And then I joined the military when I was 23, and now I'm 33. I've been in for 10 years. All right, thanks, Maisie. Kyler, your question is, what does it look like inside the plane or transportation? So I'm going to put your question on hold, and I'm going to show you what it looks like inside of a plane in a little bit. I'm actually sitting in one right now, sneak peek, but I'm going to give you a little tour after these questions. All right, Grayson, you asked what branch of the military I'm in, and then why did I choose that branch? That's a good question. So like I said, I'm in the Air Force, and I actually picked that branch because my dad was in the Air Force. He was in for about 8 years, and he fixed airplanes for his job, and I really loved and respected that he did that with his life, and I thought that was special and neat, and I really wanted to do that. So I love how my dad raised me and my brother and really respected the decisions that he made, and so I decided that I wanted to be like my dad and join the Air Force. All right, Jaden, you asked what tools did you use while you're in the Air Force and what countries did you go to? I love this question because I have been to a lot of different countries. I've been to 29 different countries since I've been in the Air Force, which is really neat. Most of them for my job, and then some of them just for vacation because I've lived in a couple really neat places. We'll start with tools. I've used all sorts of different tools, and I'll show you a little bit when we go on our tour. But like I said, I'm a nurse, and so my tools are sort of like the stethoscope and blood pressure machines and different medical tools. And so they're very specific to the medical field because that's what I do. The countries that I went to, so I actually got to live all the way on the other side of the world in Japan. I wish I had a map I could show you. Hopefully Miss Brune can show you how far away Japan is, but I got to move all the way across the world to Japan. And so that was one of the countries that I got to go to. And then while I was there, I got to go to places like Thailand and Vietnam and Cambodia. I've been to China. I've been to Afghanistan and Iraq, Oman, Bahrain, the UAE. I've been to so many places. So I should write a list for Miss Brune so she can write it out, but I've been to 29 different countries. So I got to go all over the world with the Air Force, which was another reason I really wanted to join. And so I feel very lucky and grateful that I've gotten to travel so much. I've also been, I forgot all of Europe. I've been to Germany and Luxembourg and France, all sorts of really cool places. Connor, your question was, have you ever had a plane or a ship break down? What happened? So, like I said, for my job, I ride on airplanes and take care of patients. And so I actually have had some planes break down, and it's pretty crazy when it happens. So I've never been in too much danger when they've broken down, but typically if we're still on the ground and we haven't taken off yet, then the pilots will stop the aircraft and we'll try to figure out what happened. If they can fix it, then they'll fix it on the ground. And if they can't fix it, then we'll all get off the aircraft and find a new one. Sometimes we're up in the air when the airplane breaks, and that can be an emergency. If that happens, there are rules and procedures that we have to follow. We have like emergency oxygen, just like on a commercial aircraft when the oxygen falls down from the top and you put it on your mouth. We have that available for us, and if the plane is broken bad enough, that might be an option. But really, we run those emergency procedures and we get the airplane on the ground, we get our patients to safety, and then we get all of us to safety, and that's that. We get it taken care of. And so because we fly so much, we do have broken planes every once in a while. It's something we just sort of have to deal with. But we have people like airplane mechanics that are really good at fixing those things, and so they know how to take care of it. All right, thanks, Connor. Zoe, what did you learn when you went into the military? That's a great question. This one makes me happy. So I think the biggest things that I've learned are like how to work really hard and how to be a really good part of a team, how to be a big asset to a team, and then how to be a leader. I think those are sort of the three big things, like how to do hard work, how to be part of a big team, and then how to be a leader. I say that because sometimes we have to work different hours, or we have to work on days when other people don't work, and we just have to do extra things because we're in the Air Force. And so you sort of learn that that's what you have to do because that's what we signed up and said we would do. And then I say that I learned about teamwork and leadership, or how to be a leader, because we all have to work together to get our big Air Force mission done. And especially in my job, we work in a group of 5 people on the airplane, and really the job cannot be done with just one of you. So we all work together to take care of patients and get them to their next location. And so I think my job especially, teamwork is really important, and like being a good leader and sort of leading that group of people is also super important. So those are the 3 most important things for me. Thanks, Zoe. All right, Jackson, your question is, what did you do after the military, or what are your plans after the military? So I'm still in the Air Force, and I've been in for 10 years, like I said, and I really hope to stay in for another 10 years at least. So I got married a few years ago to another Air Force member, and we would really like to stay in the Air Force for 10 more years and continue traveling the world and doing our jobs. And then after that, we can retire from the military, and we want to keep traveling. So I'm sure a lot of you get to go on little family vacations, and we want to keep doing that. So our ultimate goal is to sort of enjoy our last 10 years in the military, and then travel the world, keep it going. So that's a really fun question. All right. And then also, I didn't tell you, so my husband is an eye doctor in the Air Force. And so I'm a nurse in the Air Force, and he's an eye doctor. And so there's all sorts of things you can do. But we're both medical professionals in the Air Force. All right, Cameron, what year were you in the military? Okay, so I joined the Air Force in April of 2010. And so I think I have almost been in the Air Force as long as you've all been alive, which makes me feel very old. So yeah, that's a good one. Tegan, your question was, did you have night duty? And I definitely have had night duty. So when I worked in a military hospital, I worked night shifts for a whole entire year. I did not like it. I don't like working night shifts. I like to sleep at night and be awake during the day. And then throughout my time as a flight nurse, I've gone to places like Afghanistan for 6 months. I deployed to Afghanistan for 6 months, and I worked night shift every single night for 6 months straight. And so it sort of depends on what the job is at the location that you're at, if there's night shift or not, and I have had to work night shift. And it involves me drinking a whole lot of coffee. Emma, your question is, what made you want to join the military? So, like I said, my dad was in the military. He was an aircraft maintainer, and I just really loved how he raised me and my brother, and how he sort of instilled those military values into us our whole entire childhood. So I was definitely intrigued at an early age about the military, and I felt like I wanted to be a part of something bigger than me. I knew I wanted to be a nurse, but I didn't quite know what type of nurse, and I didn't know where I wanted to live. I didn't know if I wanted to stay in Iowa forever, and I thought the military was a good choice for me. It helped me make some decisions. It allowed me to say, hey, I'm ready to join the military. Like, where do you need me? Where do you want to send me? And they told me, hey, you're going to move to Nevada. And so I lived in Nevada for 3 years. So sort of that excitement and uncertainty, and just the ability to like help protect other Americans and be a part of something bigger than me really appealed to me when I was 18. And so it really was a good decision for me, and I don't regret it a single day. All right, Casey, have you ever used any weapons? So I actually have gotten to use some weapons. Like I said, I've deployed or gone to other countries to help protect our country. I've been to Afghanistan and Iraq, and a place called Qatar. And I've had to go there because there was just some conflict there, and they needed nurses. So I've gotten to go to those places, and they give you weapons when you go there. So they spend a lot of time training everybody, and so it's very safe. And they teach us how to use those weapons very well before we go, and then you carry around those weapons while you're there. So I have gotten to use weapons. Yep. Avery, you asked, was it scary, and what was the most scary? So there are times that I probably should have been scared, and I think this is a good question. I think I was surrounded by such good people that it made it less scary. And so I've been to sort of scary places and countries that don't always like Americans, and that probably should have been scary, but luckily I was surrounded by really good people who were there to protect all of us, and we protected the U.S. as a whole, and it ended up, I'm back, and I was very safe for the whole entire time. So maybe some scary times, but all very worthwhile, and I'm very grateful for all the experiences that I've had. Dyson, what is a good memory you have of the military? This one is good. So I think the biggest thing is I just feel very lucky to be a part of such like a big, cool organization, surrounded by really wonderful people, and just really good experiences. So I think the good memories involve the people that I've met, the friends that I've made, the travel that I've gotten to do, and just the Air Force definitely allows you to do a lot of cool things that you would never even think were available when you're in small town Iowa. So I've gotten to fly on hundreds of airplanes. I've gotten to eat food in 29 different countries. I've just gotten to be a part of a lot of really cool things. I think the best memories include like taking patients home from those countries that aren't so safe, so like Afghanistan and Iraq and Qatar, getting those patients back to a safe location. Those are pretty memorable things for me. So I have mostly very good memories from the Air Force. And then Caden, this is the last question. What was or is it like traveling in the military, and how often do you come home? And so I'm going to show you some military aircraft that I get to ride on, but for the most part we get on a commercial aircraft just like you guys, like Delta, and we fly home. So when I'm at work we fly on military aircraft, and then our personal time we fly just like you guys. So yeah. And then how often do you come home? I don't get to come home as often as I like, but it sort of depends on where I live. So I first lived in Las Vegas, Nevada, and so I got to see my family and come home to Iowa a few times a year. And then I moved all the way to Japan, like I said, and I only got to come home about one time per year while I was in Japan, and I was there for 4 years. And so we did a lot of FaceTime and Skyping and sent a lot of emails to stay close to my family. So that has been probably the hardest assignment. It was the best and the worst because it was Japan, and so I got to just do all of those experiences that were so different than the US, but I only got to see my parents one time in a whole entire year. And so that's definitely one of the hardest parts of the military. And after I left Japan, I lived in St. Louis, Missouri for 2 years, and now I live in Dayton, Ohio. And so I've been here in Dayton for about 1.5 years. And so while I was in St. Louis and now in Dayton, I get to see my family about every 3 to 5 months, yeah. So, and then we see my husband's family about that often too. So now that I'm back in the Midwest, I get to see them a little bit more. But yeah, it's tough. Ohio and Iowa, even though they're the Midwest, they're still farther away than you think. It's about a 13-hour car ride home. So it's pretty tough to get back home to small town Fenton, Iowa. All right, so those are all the questions. It makes me just really happy to answer them because they were such good questions. I love that you guys are learning about this. I hope you enjoyed the questions and the answers that I provided in my little short bio about myself, or introduction about myself. I'm going to show you a few more things, and stand by for the little tour. Thanks, guys. So, welcome to USAF-SAM, or the United States Air Force School of Aerospace Medicine. And so this is an area that holds our 3 airplanes. And so here's the first one. This is a C-17. And then this is a C-130, and then this is another C-130. And so, like I said before, as a flight nurse, I would ride on these airplanes and take care of patients. But now I teach other people how to take care of patients on these airplanes. And then once they graduate our course or pass our course, they go and fly on airplanes and take patients home. So this is a pretty cool area. And like I said, it holds this big fat C-17 and then these 2 C-130s. Let's look inside the C-130. Alright, so right up there is where the pilots sit and fly the airplanes. And then back here is where we take care of the patients. And so this is set up for like a normal patient load or group of patients. These airplanes won't fly, they're just for training purposes. But as you can see, it's pretty crazy. So these are all just mannequins, training mannequins. They do a bunch of cool things. But yeah, this is what the inside of the C-130 looks like. So the crew sits here on these red seats, and we bring everything we need to take care of a patient in all of these bags. So you have to get pretty creative when you take care of your patients on the back of a military aircraft. It's pretty wild, right? This is the back of a C-17. So this one is a little bit fancier and more roomy, as you can tell. But let me walk you right on here. So we can fit a ton of patients on here. We load them into those litters. As you can see, we have more mannequins ready for training, and we sit in these black seats. And this is what the inside of a C-17 looks like. And so we pretty much can make this look like a hospital room and move those patients and give them the care that they need. There's some stairs up here, and that's where the pilot sits and flies the aircraft. Take you up there. See? No, so the pilots sit right there. So I just want to thank you all again for letting me answer your questions and chat with you today. It was wonderful. I feel very honored that I got to answer your questions today. If you have any other questions for me, I would love to answer them. Please just give them to Miss Brune, and she can send them my way, and I will get them answered. So good luck with the rest of 5th grade. Thank you again, and have a great day. Bye.